Hi, and welcome to Coaching Unveiled. I'm James Fenimore from Fenterprises, joined as always by Jason Donahue from Level Up Fusion Coaching. Jason, how are you?
I'm doing good. Great to talk with you again.
Yeah, you too. So today we want to talk a little bit more about that coach and client relationship, but really specifically what the client can expect from the coach and what kind of core principles anchor the coach. So what do you think, Jason? Why don't you start us off?
Yeah, I think that it's really important that we continue to build on what we've talked about in the two previous video podcasts. And one of the ways I'd like to try to keep it in my mind is to create mnemonic devices. And so I think about a C model. When I think about the connection between a client and a coach and our role as a coach, and so one of the C's that comes to mind for me is character. What is the character of a coach? And what I mean by that is, it is the coach operating from preference or principle? And I think at times people will get caught up and their opinion will change, their stance will change, sometimes as the wind goes or as something's popular, versus operating from principle is these are the things that I hold core. And so I think this relates back to the certification process and the importance of that from the other day about, am I operating from a paradigm, a model, something that holds fast in where I make my decisions and coaching from values versus what's just convenient. Any quick thoughts you have on that?
Yeah, I think the way you're describing it's really succinct and kind of perfect. You need to have an anchor, something that's kind of holding you down as the coach. Having a certification, I think, is a really nice way to kind of, if you're getting to know a new coach, maybe seeing that they have a certification. Not saying it's necessary. I'm just saying it's a nice indicator that some training went into it and that they kind of understand the core principles and the core values of what it is to be a coach. Because we've joked about this kind of at length, probably on this podcast. We'll probably continue to joke about it. Anybody with like a few thousand Instagram followers all of a sudden is offering a coaching service. They don't know really they're a mentor, they're a teacher, they're all these other things, and I'm sure they're very good at it most of the time. But they may not know the actual art of coaching. And that's what the point of this podcast has been, to let people know that there is a technique, there is a methodology, and there are tenets and principles to being a coach and the coaching process. So having that anchor hold that coach accountable to maintaining that process is crucial.
Yeah, absolutely agree. Absolutely agree. I think another C for me then is also courage. Does
Mm.
the coach have the courage to have the crucial conversations when they need to? Do they have the courage to be able to represent thoughts or ideas or paradigms that the client themselves may be unwilling to recognize, they're not capable of recognizing, or they need somebody just to kind of kick them in the pants, at times to be able to help them out. Any thoughts on courage that you have?
So I love the use of the word courage here because I think it goes for a coach, for me sometimes it goes kind of both ways, because there are sometimes you need to have the courage not to kick them in the pants and to recognize as the coach that, hey, I have a client here that doesn't respond to that, but I like to do that. That might be my style, or that might be something I do, but I know in this situation, I don't think it's the client's going to respond to that. It's not the right moment. So having the courage to trust the process, having the courage to know your client and say, you know what, I'm not going to just go to my default setting, and I'm going to trust the process. I'm going to trust my training, and I'm going to know that this is the right way to proceed. Also, on the courage side, having the courage to push your client back to their goals. You know, we've coached together, each other, and other people that have coached me in the past know that I'll have a goal and I could go off on a tangent in a session. And I can't tell you how much I value those coaches that bring me back to center and say, hey, listen, all of these other things sound super important, but we were talking about this in the beginning, and this was your goal. Is this applicable to getting to that goal? And that
Mhm.
does take courage, because the fact is you do have clients that sometimes come in and they just want to vent and they just want to rattle off a bunch of things and they want to talk about, because listen, that might be weighing on their chest. And sometimes you could even say that to your client, and you'll hear a coach sometimes say, hey, listen, it sounds like you just need to get some things off your chest. How about I let you run wild for 3 minutes, but then we're going to come back to center and we're going to focus on the goal. Because like we've talked about, coaching's goal oriented. So having the courage to be able to do that and talk to your client that way, at risk of your client maybe getting mad and saying, this isn't what I signed up for. But again, you're coaching. You're staying true to the process. Maybe that's not what your client wants. Maybe they want to go to therapy. Maybe they want to have a friend that they just want to complain to. That's fair too. We all want that person, you know. So it's important to trust that, and that's what having the courage to go back to that, I think, is huge.
Yeah, I'd absolutely agree. And thank you for bringing up too, trust the process. Because I think part of the things about courage for coaches is we don't have to be experts at every single thing. In fact,
Mm.
at times we need to have the courage not to be and to be the novice. Because we're again not the sage on the stage, we're the guide on the side. We're part of your journey, which I think leads to the another C, which is clarity. So I love what you just said a moment ago too. It's the ability to say to a person, are we really clear about what is the outcome that you want? What is the goal that you want? And then sometimes people will meander, in that discussion. And some creatives need that. It's also the courage to have the clarity with the client. Boy, there's a triple C real quick, to be able to come back and say, are we still on the path that you want that best serves you for maximum, outcome that you want? And I think that's where we're starting to combine again, the character of the coach, the courage of the coach, and the clarity. Any further thoughts on clarity you'd like to add?
Well, clarity is very much a major kind of tentpole area for a coach, because they need to help the client with their clarity. It's not just you having the clarity. So if you're not clear as the coach, how are you going to get your client through their process? Because it's so easy to do what we just discussed and start meandering and going through all these other, you know, action items for different goals you might have. As the coach, you really want to keep this person on the client on your straight and narrow here. Our job is to get you to your goal. Not to get you there, but help you get there, I should say. So when you're taking yourself off that track, we need to have the clarity to help you get the clarity that is not what you need to do. So staying focused, staying clear, because it's so easy in this day and age to jump in and be like, yeah, tell me more about that. And that is interesting what you're talking about. This other thing that happened at the office, or this other thing that happened at your at home, this drama that's going on. But if it's not at the end game here and it's not going to get you anywhere closer, we need to stay clear and we need to stay focused on behalf of our client.
Mm-hmm. Yes, very much agree. Very much agree. I think then that these three very much are still within the realm of the next C to me, which is confidentiality, trust. And I think that if anything, if we fail to hold the trust circle, with our client, we'll never gain that back ever. And this is why one of the C's is not coercion. We don't coerce our clients. The moment that we ever try to go into a coercive type of relationship, that relationship is destroyed. Confidentiality and trust is destroyed. So confidentiality is when I say this is between us, except when something violates the law, is something that becomes threatening of a legal procedure against us as coaches, harm toward others, threat toward others. We have other responsibilities. But when we make that upfront clarity, with the client, then the client understands this is the zone for us to talk about maybe things that they're not willing to talk about with other people. Now, again, I'm not talking about therapy, but I'm talking about those desires and those goals and those outcomes that they really want to achieve. And so to me, the foundation is confidentiality and trust, because anything that's built to last is not built fast. And it has to be on the foundation of confidentiality. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, we could, I don't mean to bring up the training again, and everybody could say, oh yeah, I believe in confidentiality, but this was such a huge tenet in training. And if you go for certifications, confidentiality comes up over and over and over again. And there's a reason for it, because you have to build that trust, and because it's paramount. If you break confidentiality, you're going to lose a certification. That's going to get pulled if you get reported to a governing body. So there's real consequences there for people that take the certification process seriously, in which all great coaches usually do. So there's more than just the consequences of you and your client. There's career consequences for a lot of coaches on this. And also remembering, if there's a sponsor involved, if there's somebody else footing the bill here with the confidentiality, that's another area that gets gray. And now real conversations need to be placed, real contracting, not to bring up another C and steal your shtick there, but real contracting needs to take place. So the confidentiality aspect of coaching is huge, and it needs to be very clear on the clarity side of things as to where the confidentiality begins and where the contracting ends, on who's responsible for what. Because I think we talked about this last time. There are some instances where, when it's a company contract, that certain things are disclosed to the company in the coaching process, and other things aren't. So everybody needs to be above board. That needs to be written down. That needs to be signed. And so everybody needs to know that. So that's huge in the confidentiality part.
Yeah, very much. And I know that there's several other C's that we've discussed, but I know to us, I think these are core four for a
Yeah.
person to be able to operate with and be successful with. So, definitely, I think we've got future discussions coming up with contracting and confidentiality. But I think that this is a great foundation, almost a part one of what the coaches and the C model can represent. Any final thoughts that you have?
No, I agree. I think if you're looking for a good coach, and this is part of their tentpole policies, I think you're in good shape. And give them a shot. Do a discovery call and say, where do you stand on clarity? Where do you stand on confidentiality? I think you'll be in good hands. But
I think so
Jason,
too.
thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
You bet. Thanks again. And thank you, everybody, for your ideas.
Yeah, we'll see you next time. Coaching Unveiled. Take care.
Bye bye.